Guess what? I sold my house, my brother-in-law Kevin said. My husband and I were really surprised, and we didn't know what to say. But the most surprised person was my mother-in-law. She looked really upset and asked, "Why? Weren't you supposed to come get me?" Kevin tried to calm her down and started to explain. "I'm Sandra. I work from home with my husband Robert. We love our peaceful workplace where we can take breaks whenever we need," I explained. Then my mother-in-law moved in with us. We were doing fine financially, so we didn't mind. "But why don't you both go out to work?" My mother-in-law would look at us with disapproval as she asked this. It made me feel tired, like we were going through the same thing all over again. The first time she questioned us like this, we explained that we were working from home. "But are you actually working?" "I've told Robert the same thing. Are you paying attention? When will you two get serious about work? Aren't you thinking about your future?" My mother-in-law couldn't understand our job. "Oh, I'm so worried. I wonder if I made a mistake coming to this house. Maybe I should have gone to Kevin's house." She would often sigh and say this. The Kevin she mentioned is Robert's brother. He married a wealthy woman named Carol, and it seems like he's living off her money now. My mother-in-law didn't know about this. Kevin asked us not to tell her. My goodness, Kevin's house isn't small like ours. It's huge, like a castle from another country. Well, I'm thinking of moving to Kevin's house eventually, which will be my new home. My mother-in-law would often say, hoping Kevin would come to take her there. But we knew deep down that Kevin and his wife would never come to get her. You see, Robert once suggested to his brother that their mother could live with him. But Kevin didn't want to live with her. So we ended up living together even though we were criticized for working remotely and called unemployed. We just accepted that's how she is. But then something happened that made it impossible for us to keep putting up with it. Out of nowhere, we got a call from Kevin. "He's coming over this weekend," he said abruptly, then hung up before we could say anything. What do we do now? That guy hasn't changed at all. Robert and I were puzzled. And hearing our talk, my mother-in-law leaned in, looking excited. "He's coming to take me. Please help me get ready to move," she said, pulling Robert towards her room. "Mom, Kevin isn't coming to take you. He probably called for some other reason," Robert said, worried. "But he didn't mention anything about picking you up when he called, did he?" I added. "I'm so tired of this house. You probably want to turn me into a housekeeper, but that's not happening," my mother-in-law replied with a scoff. We couldn't understand why she was thinking like that. Since she came to stay with us, she pretty much did whatever she pleased, didn't help with any chores, and relied on the money we gave her. Well, we weren't going to force her to stay, so we packed her bags as she asked and waited for Kevin to arrive. During the weekend, my brother-in-law and his wife showed up at our place. As soon as they walked in, they had these suspiciously friendly expressions on their faces. I had a bad feeling about it. Just then, my mother-in-law came out, looking excited. "You're finally here. Let me tell you, Sandra is not good at doing housework at all. So I have to do them, and Robert completely ignores me. Isn't that terrible?" she said, acting like she was the victim. Then brushed past Robert and welcomed her brother into our home. "You guys don't mistreat Mom. There's no way we're doing that. We're giving her an allowance, and she's eating whatever she likes. Plus, Sandra is handling the house chores," Robert said, looking conflicted, but his brother seemed suspicious. Robert has always been a bit clueless, probably treating Mom badly without even realizing. And it seems Sandra isn't the considerate type. "That's right. Kevin really understands me," she said. Hearing this conversation, Robert and I couldn't help but frown. Despite this, we decided to entertain our guests and led the couple to the living room. We all sat around the living room table, with Robert and me on one side and the couple on the other. "Now, why are you just sitting there? Serve the tea," my mother-in-law demanded. "Huh? I thought you were going to make the tea, mother-in-law. What's this about making an old woman work? See, Kevin, Sandra is like this," she said, even pretending to cry. I was so stunned by her behavior that I couldn't even respond. Once I served the tea, the mood became serious. The truth is, we sold our house. Robert and I were surprised and shocked by Kevin's words, but the one who was most shocked was my mother-in-law. "Why? Why would you do something like that? Didn't he come to pick me up?" she asked, flustered, confronting Kevin. He tried to calm her down, saying, "Take it easy," and then began to explain. "We'd been in debt, and even though we could pay it off by selling the house, we're broke and have nowhere to live, so we came here to see if we could stay. What debt? I tried to start a business, but it didn't work out. These things happen, you know, Kevin said with a laugh. Robert and I sighed in frustration. We only need to stay until we find a new house. Please, we have no one else to turn to, the couple pleaded, bowing their heads together. I think our expressions must have been mixed, but if they had nowhere else to go, we felt obliged to help. We agreed to let them stay temporarily in our house. However, we made it clear that they had to find their own place within a month. Okay, Kevin said, still laughing, and went to prepare for their move. After they left, my mother-in-law sat quietly, looking lost in thought. Robert and I assumed she was still processing everything. The next day, the couple's belongings arrived promptly. This much. Where are we going to put it all? This is going to be tricky. We might have to sell some things or rent a storage unit, my mother-in-law said as we discussed what to do with Kevin's belongings. Then, out of nowhere, she dropped a bombshell on us. I've been thinking, wouldn't we be more secure in the future if Kevin stays here, so you freeloaders can leave, can't you? My mother-in-law's sudden statement left my husband and me shocked. If you insist, I can tolerate Robert staying, but I don't need a wife who can't do anything. Get a divorce then, Sandra's space can be used for all these packages, my mother-in-law eagerly demanded, looking at my husband for approval. What are you talking about? He reacted, as he usually did, completely surprised. Then my brother-in-law and his wife arrived. My mother-in-law greeted them happily, but I was still shaken by her earlier words. My husband decided to ignore the situation for the moment and asked his brother to deal with the packages. There were more than I expected. Try to reduce the number, rent a storage unit, or sell some if necessary, my husband said. His brother glared at him and said, "What are you talking about? These packages are important. How could I sell them? And what if they get stolen from a locker? What if they get damaged? Are you going to take responsibility, bro?" My husband shook his head at his brother's selfish behavior. This is our house, you know. It's only fair that you endure some inconvenience, right? If you don't like it, find a place to live quickly and leave. But then my mother-in-law shouted, "What are you talking about? Didn't I just say if you two are not happy with Kevin and the rest, you can leave? You're basically freeloaders. You're not needed in this house. Kevin is trying to start a business and all you two do is loaf around the house, doing so-called remote work. You're a nuisance." It was like my mother-in-law was acting as if it were her own house. My husband and I exchanged looks in disbelief. My brother-in-law and his wife were surprised at my mother-in-law's words, but then they started to smirk. "That might not be a bad idea, Mom. It sounds good. It's a hassle to find a new place, so we could stay here. So why don't you sell this house to us, Carol?" My brother-in-law said, "I feel uneasy with you two around, so it would be better if you sold this place to us. And it seems like our mother-in-law agrees with us, so sell this place to us." My husband and I were stunned by their words. "What nonsense are you?" my husband started, but was cut off by my mother-in-law, who smirked. "See, both Kevin and Carol are saying the same thing. So what will you do, Robert? If you're going to divorce, you can stay here." My mother-in-law glared at me triumphantly. I prepared myself to respond, but my husband spoke up first. "Why you get to say whatever you want? Why should Sandra have to leave?" My husband was visibly angry, his voice raised. "Don't raise your voice like that. It's better without a burden around, right?" My mother-in-law retorted. But my husband responded with frustration, "You don't understand anything. This is Sandra's house." At my husband's words, my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and his wife gasped. My husband continued, adding to the tension. "This is the house that Sandra bought for our life together." What are you saying?" "There's no rule saying only the husband can buy the house. Besides, Sandra covers all of Mom's allowance and living expenses. Sandra said she'd take on that responsibility because your pension is minimal, and it would be hard for you to have financial freedom with just that." Robert glared intensely at his mother. Despite this, my mother-in-law seemed incredulous, looking at me and snickering in disbelief. "Unbelievable. Sandra just sits on the computer all day. She doesn't even do housework properly. Wasn't my allowance coming out of my pension? Otherwise, there's no way Sandra could afford to give me $500 a month. Moreover," my mother-in-law continued, "Sandra is the one managing my pension, isn't she? You might have told Robert otherwise, but I'm sure you're dipping into my pension." She puffed up her chest and glared at me. I glared back. refusing to back down. It's true that I've succeeded as a business owner. You're lying. Stop spreading lies about my wife. You should divorce this lying wife already. You can live here with me, Kevin, and Carol. Besides, there's no proof that Sandra isn't earning money. Here it is. With that, I pulled out my paycheck and showed it to her. The sight of it left my mother-in-law, Kevin, and his wife stunned. Since Mom moved in, we haven't used any of her pension. If Mom ever wanted to leave, Sandra has been managing it so she could live independently. But instead, Mom, you've been bossing Sandra around, interfering with her work. You're the problem. If you don't like Sandra, you should leave right now. I don't believe any of this, my mother-in-law retorted, refusing to listen to anything we said. Afterward, Robert and I sighed in disbelief, cutting her off. Well, if that's how you feel, we'll pack our things and move to a new house. You guys will be stuck with a mortgage. But if that's okay with you, don't come crying to us for help. If you insist, mother-in-law will leave even with a pension. Maintaining your lifestyle will be challenging, but I guess that can't be helped, can it? At our words, my mother-in-law turned beet red and yelled at us to leave. Wait, you can't be serious. We don't have to do that, do we? Kevin and his wife tried to intervene, but my mother-in-law gave us a fierce look and said, "Don't you dare talk back, Kevin. You're going to be a CEO, aren't you? I don't mind you using my pension, so just start a company and show us how successful you can become. I'll show you what happens when you defy us." Her words were filled with intensity. Hearing this, we decided it was best to no longer be involved with her or Kevin's family and left the house. Of course, the mortgage on the house remained, but we changed the ownership to Kevin's name. Some time had passed since then. While there was still some lingering dissatisfaction from that incident, being freed from my mother-in-law's sarcasm, we were able to return to our normal routine. While we were working from home like usual in our new apartment, my mother-in-law called my husband, Kevin, crying. She said Kevin took her pension money and disappeared a week ago. She and Carol, Kevin's sister, were left alone in the house and needed help. My mother-in-law was too upset to talk, so she passed the phone to Carol. Carol explained that since Kevin's failed business and selling the family home, their parents had cut ties with them. They hadn't been able to reach their parents since then. My husband sighed and said, "I knew it. He told them not to involve us because we had warned them before leaving. He said they could report Kevin missing to the police, but that we wouldn't help them." After hanging up, I was shocked by my husband's reaction, but he believed they deserved what happened, and I ended up agreeing with him. They kept calling my husband's phone numerous times. Whenever he reluctantly answered, Carol would cry about not knowing how to report Kevin missing. We were surprised she didn't know what to do and advised her to call the police. However, despite their efforts, they couldn't locate Kevin. Just when we thought Kevin might remain missing, we heard the news that he had been arrested for robbing a bank in another state. Apparently, he did it to pay off his debts. This wasn't his first time committing such a crime, and it seemed he was likely facing a significant jail sentence. Carol is stuck living with my mother-in-law in their old house because she can't go back to her parents' home. She's unsure if she'll divorce Kevin, but that's not her priority right now. She's working with a temp agency, struggling with her first job, but somehow managing to get by each day. My mother-in-law is in a tough spot too. Kevin took all her pension, and now she's left to repay his debts. She started working part-time to make ends meet. While my husband and I feel bad for them, we've decided not to help and cut off contact. They're experiencing the tough realities of life my mother-in-law often talked about. Despite the challenges since my mother-in-law moved in, my husband and I are relieved to have returned to our peaceful routine.
That day, I think I was really tired because as soon as I put my daughter, Nia, to bed, I went to my room and fell asleep right away. Later, I woke up suddenly because I heard Nicholas crying. I checked the time on my phone, and it was 1:00 a.m. I felt relieved that I had managed to get a short nap. Feeling exhausted, I got up to comfort Nia. Then, I heard someone shouting, "Shut up, be quiet." It took me a moment to figure out where the voice was coming from. I thought it might be my mother-in-law, Jamie, yelling at me from her room. I responded, "I'm coming to calm her down now," and opened the door to the living room. There, right in front of me, was Jamie, glaring at Nia in the crib. Then suddenly, she slapped Nia's face and said, "That's enough." Shocked, I yelled louder than ever, "What are you doing?" Jamie seemed surprised for a moment and then panicked, saying, Why didn't you calm her down sooner? This baby is too noisy." I hurried to the crib and picked up Nia to shield her from Jamie. I couldn't believe it. She hit a baby. My name is Candice, and I'm a 28-year-old housewife. I used to work in an office, but now I'm on maternity leave, taking care of the house and our baby. My husband, Miles, and I moved in with my mother-in-law, Jamie, about a year ago. Miles has a demanding job and isn't home much. He was worried about leaving me alone while I was pregnant and felt sorry for Jamie since my father-in-law passed away 2 years ago. So we decided to live with her. At first, everything was okay, but Jamie's true colors started to show, and honestly, it's been tough. "Candy, you're so slow with the housework, and can't you cook better food?" Jamie kept picking on me every chance she got. When Willis, her husband, was alive, visiting my in-laws' house was fine, and I didn't really dislike Jamie. But after Willis passed away and we moved in together, Jamie became incredibly selfish and rude. She'd constantly insult me, saying things like, "Hurry up, you're useless and slow, even ugly." The last part was just cruel and had nothing to do with chores. Being pregnant, it's natural for me to be slower, but Jamie doesn't seem to understand or care. She just wants to harass me. Since Miles, my husband, is mostly away on business trips and doesn't get home until late, I spend most days with Jamie. I kept hoping things would get better once the baby was born. Surely even Jamie, as tough as she is, would soften up around her grandchild. I clung desperately to that hope. I talked to Miles about it on WhatsApp, trying not to bother him too much at work. He always replies with, "I'm sorry, I wish I could be there for you." And he does scold Jamie when they meet. Knowing Miles supports me gives me some comfort, even when I have to endure Jamie's criticism for not doing chores well while pregnant. After safely giving birth to a healthy baby girl, Miles, bless him, managed to arrange time off from work for the birth. He left early and rushed to the hospital just before I delivered, as he held our newborn daughter. She's really cute, like an angel. He looked so happy and said, "I'm thrilled to have a child with the man I love." I messaged Jamie on WhatsApp to share the news of our baby girl's arrival, hoping she'd visit since we lived together. But Jamie didn't come to the hospital, nor did she reply. I started to worry if she wasn't interested in her granddaughter. Could the harassment continue even now? Just as I feared, the door to my hospital room opened. "Candice, how are you feeling?" "Oh, what precious baby. She's a girl, right? She's going to be beautiful." My sister-in-law, Leela, came to visit. Leela is incredibly kind and cheerful, and she's always been good to me. I've always cherished my relationship with her. Since Leela is already married and has children, I had decided to seek her advice on parenting. "What'd you name her?" "Miles, and I decided on Nia." "Oh, that's a lovely name. Wait, hasn't Mom arrived?" "No, I reached out to her, but she ignored my message." "Ah, I see. She can be difficult sometimes, can't she? Unpredictable and lacking common sense." "Yes, indeed. Leela is direct, and I've always valued that about her. She once told me, 'If you ever struggle living with Mom, don't hesitate to talk to me.' That offer was a lifesaver. So whenever things got tough, I would honestly vent to Leela. She understood Jamie's challenging personality, so she refrained from scolding Jamie based on what I shared, knowing Jamie would take it out on me. That's why she only intervened when absolutely necessary. At that time, simply being able to share my frustrations was enough to ease my stress. Little did I know, things would become even more challenging after Nicola was born. "Jamie, I'm home." When I returned from the hospital with Nicola, Jamie didn't acknowledge her presence at all. Instead, she ordered me to clean right away. I couldn't believe it. It was as if she was pretending Nicola didn't even exist. Despite feeling upset, I placed Nicola in her crib and started cleaning. But within 5 minutes, Jamie called out angrily, "Candy, get over here." "Yes, what is it?" "That baby won't stop crying. Do something about it." I was stunned. Jamie referred to Nicola as that baby? as if she were a nuisance, and ordered me to silence her cries. Jamie continued to mistreat Nicola, demanding that I change her diaper and complaining about the crib being in the way. Each time Jamie yelled, Nicola cried louder in fear, which only angered Jamie more. It created a very tense and uncomfortable atmosphere for Nicola and me. Jamie, her name is Nicola. Could you please call her by her name? Shut up. Don't tell me what to do. You're her mother, so it's your responsibility to take care of her and make sure I'm comfortable. Look, she's crying again. Nicola started crying because Jamie had yelled just after I had put her to bed. I had to interrupt my chores to comfort Nicola, knowing Jamie would be upset if the housework was delayed. After soothing Nicola and returning to my chores, Jamie complained, "This crib is in the way, taking up so much space," and kicked it. The crib shook, and Nicola woke up crying once again. "What are you doing, Jamie?" I questioned. "Shut up. It's your fault for putting such a big thing here," she snapped back. "But you were the one who told us to move the bed to the living room because it's noisy when she cries in our room at night," I reminded her. "Are you complaining to me now? Stop arguing and soothe that noisy child," she ordered. Calling her that noisy child is really unkind. I had no choice but to carry out my chores while holding Nicola. Balancing housework and childcare without upsetting Jamie was incredibly challenging, and I was becoming increasingly exhausted. If I focused too much on childcare, I'd be scolded for being slow with housework, and if I prioritized chores, I'd be criticized for not parenting properly. Miles had been away on a business trip for about 2 months and wasn't home to support me. I tried reaching out to him through WhatsApp and phone calls, but he was always busy and couldn't talk for long. He apologized many times, saying, "I'm really sorry for the tough times," but I felt guilty for making him apologize when he was working so hard for our family. At the hospital, the doctor examined Nicola and reassured me that while her face was red, there were no signs of bruises or injuries, which eased my worries. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. "What happened? Did you accidentally drop her?" the doctor inquired. I recounted the incident to the doctor. Just then, Layla walked into the room. "Candice, is Nicola all right?" she asked with concern. "Oh, Leela!" I exclaimed. In my frantic state, I had called Leela while in the ambulance. With Miles away on a business trip and unable to rush back immediately, I reached out to Leela despite it being the middle of the night. Leela proceeded to inform the doctor about Jamie's actions towards Nicola. The doctor was visibly shocked, and Leela trembled with anger. The next day, I returned home with Leela. After some hesitation, I entered the house alone. Jamie acted as if nothing had happened and continued to harass me as usual. "You're late. Hurry up and make breakfast," she demanded. "You forgot to take out the trash because you came home late. You really can't keep up with the housework," she criticized. "Enough already. Did you forget what happened yesterday? You hit a 3-month-old baby, remember?" I confronted Jamie, her face flushed with anger. Why should I apologize? That child was the one being noisy. I just slapped her because she wouldn't listen. It's a form of discipline. I thought she wouldn't quiet down otherwise. Jamie defended herself. "That's not discipline, it's violence." "Enough. She's just a baby. Just do your chores already," I responded, feeling exasperated. "You don't seem to regret it at all. You don't even think you did anything wrong." "Leela, please come in," I called out to Leela. She entered the living room, and I couldn't believe what had happened. "Mom, what were you thinking? I can't believe you would do something like that," Leela exclaimed. "No, that's, Jamie was flustered by Leela's sudden intervention. "Mom, you do realize that what you did is legally punishable, right?" Jamie's face paled at Leela's words. "Leela, you're not seriously considering suing your own mother, are you?" she pleaded. "I won't be the one suing. Candice will." "I'll simply act as her lawyer," Leela responded firmly. "But wait, it was just a form of discipline," Jamie tried to justify. "Who would see hitting a baby as discipline? This is assault," I interjected, firm in my stance. No matter how hard Jamie tried to rationalize her actions, they could never be excused. I will definitely pursue legal action against you. Be prepared, I informed Jamie. Jamie began to cry softly. I'm sorry, Candice. I always lose control when I'm angry and end up regretting it later. I've always felt guilty about how I treated you and Nina. I truly am sorry for what happened. Why did I raise my hand to her? I always wanted a boy as the eldest grandchild. It was Willis' wish too. It might be an old-fashioned idea, but we always hoped for a boy to carry on the family line. And when a girl was born instead, I was happy about having a granddaughter, but also felt like I failed to fulfill a promise to Willis. Every time I got angry, I couldn't control myself. I'm truly sorry, Jamie confessed through her tears. Please, Candice, help me change. I'll do anything, Jamie pleaded, offering a heartfelt apology. Jamie, please try to calm down. Let's have a proper conversation, I urged, hoping to diffuse the tension. No, I've done something unforgivable. No amount of apologies will ever be enough. Jamie continued to apologize fervently. My heart wavered, and I almost forgave her, but then Leela intervened. Don't be fooled, Candice. Mom always puts on this act of deep remorse when she's caught in a corner just to escape criticism, Leela explained. What? She did the same thing when Dad found out about her affair. He fell for her act and forgave her, but her tears dried up immediately afterward. This is probably just another performance, right? You can't fool me, Leela declared, causing Jamie to falter. What are you implying, Leela? Upon closer inspection, Jamie's tears, which had been flowing moments ago, had already ceased. It was likely fake crying. Jamie, I can't forgive you anymore. How twisted must you be to try to worm your way out of what you've done? I exclaimed. Wait a minute. I'm not trying to escape anything. Jamie protested. Okay, I understand. But we've already decided to take legal action, I stated firmly. Jamie's face reddened with anger. Don't play games with me. Why should I be subjected to this treatment by a daughter-in-law like you? How dare you? Just then, we heard the sound of the house key turning. Candice, is Nicola safe? It was Miles. Why are you here? I exclaimed in surprise. I had only contacted him on WhatsApp and thought he couldn't come because he was on a business trip. I had called him several times in the middle of the night. Yet here he was, having driven straight here since 3:00 a.m. and arriving this morning. I didn't expect Miles to be there too. Mom, stop it. I've heard about your mistreatment of Candice, and I've warned you about it multiple times, haven't I? And now you've gone and hurt my precious Nicola. I can't forgive you for this, Mom, Miles said firmly. Are you blaming me too? How cruel. After all I did raising you and Leela, Jamie retorted defensively. What are you talking about? You were hardly ever there for us. It was always Aunt who took care of us. Our memories are filled with the meals Aunt cooked. Not you, Mom, Miles replied, his tone tinged with frustration. Just stop it. Plus, I think the doctor already reported it yesterday, Miles added. The hospital knows Mom hurt her, so it's only a matter of time before the police get involved. Leela chimed in. No, wait. Are you okay with your mother getting arrested? Jamie pleaded, panic evident in her voice. I'd rather not have someone who hurts a 3-month-old baby around, no matter what you say, Mom. You don't have anyone on your side now, Miles stated firmly. Jamie finally seemed to grasp the severity of her situation. Her face drained of color as she slumped in defeat. Soon after, the police arrived, and Jamie was taken into custody. As a first-time offender, she received a suspended sentence. However, Miles and Leela decided to cut ties with her and obtained restraining orders against her. Miles moved out of the in-laws' house with me and Nicola and rented an apartment. During our search for a new place, we temporarily stayed with Leela, which was immensely helpful. Candice, I'm truly sorry for everything. I'll take parental leave if necessary. I'll switch departments or even jobs to ensure your and Nicola's safety, Miles assured me. His current workplace had some issues with its environment, making it challenging for him to secure parental leave. Consequently, he resigned and found employment elsewhere. Now he returns home on time and actively helps with Nicola and household chores. We reside in a high-rise near Leila's family, often gathering for meals or enjoying barbecues together. As for Jamie, I'm not sure about her current situation, but according to neighbors, she has become completely isolated since her arrest and rarely ventures outside. It seems that her prideful nature cannot handle being associated with such reprehensible actions. However, her whereabouts no longer concern me, and since she doesn't know our new address, the chances of encountering her unexpectedly are slim. My focus now is on living happily and supporting each other as a family with Miles, Nicola, and Leila's family.